Oh boy, everybody. Okay, welcome back to the channel. Been away for a little bit, had some things to do, but today we've got an exciting segment to deal with. I just want to say some key things here. Trust the plan. This message is dedicated to my bakers, my bread makers, and all of my fags. You know who you are. We are really connecting some dots. Talk about players and good actors versus bad actors and 5D chess. Like, you're not going to believe it. You're just really not going to believe what I'm about to show you until I show you and I give you my opinion on it. And then you're going to be like, holy crap, that might really be something. So we're going to take a look at this video here. Valuetainment on YouTube. We're going to take a look at this here. Okay.
Mark Zuckerberg going to Mar-a-Lago yesterday. I saw something, and then I saw a clip where he's talking, Tom, and Elon's like, somebody's like, hey, you think you can fight him? Elon, I have never seen, he's like, I will beat his ass any day, anytime, whenever you want. So I think him going there, and I guess it was, is it Jim Miller? Is it the new guy that's the bald guy? Stephen Miller is coming in, and he's recognizing that Trump is an agent of change and prosperity, and that Zuck wants to be a part of it. And so I kind of feel like, how do you think Elon's taking that, where this guy's coming in there to
let's read this. Okay. Let's read this. Zuckerberg dines with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and marking a notable meeting between a Facebook founder and former president who had been banned from the platform after January 6, 2021 Capitol attack. A Meta spokesperson confirmed Zuckerberg was invited to discuss the incoming administration with Trump's deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, stating Zuckerberg wants to support the national renewal of Americas under Trump's leadership. Zuckerberg has shifted toward a more positive stance on Trump, praising his handling of an assassination attempt as badass earlier this year and accusing Biden administration of pressuring the Facebook to censor, by the way, this is AP News, to censor COVID-19 content. Despite this, Trump recently mocked Zuckerberg on Truth Social, warning Zuckerbucks, be careful, while referencing election fraud claims. Okay, so this is a couple things here to be thinking about. On one end, and Tom, I'm going to come to you right after this. On one, to me, is Zuck is...
So before they argue their case, let me just say to you to remember there are moves and counter moves to everything that is going on. We've been told that this is a movie. We've been told to get ready to get our popcorn. And folks, I think this is it right here. This is it. And I'm getting ready to let you listen to their opinions on it, and then I'm going to give you mine, which is different.
We're forgetting that. How old was Zuck when he started Facebook, Rob?
He was like 21 from
college. So how old was Zuck when he started? I'm actually curious. Was he like 19 or 20? I'm trying to see the exact.
Over under
19
20,
years old. Okay.
19.
So he was 19 years old when he started Meta.
He just turned 40.
So can you Google who are Zuckerberg's parents? Who are Zuckerberg's parents? Like, what do they do? I'm curious. Is there anything about his parents? So Edward Zuckerberg, can you zoom in? Is there anything to find out who he is? Dentist, father. Okay, how about his mother? Let's see what his mother. Zoom in. Psychiatrist.
Edward and Karen Zuckerberg.
Perfect. And look at that picture right there. Mom, dad, and himself in the middle, right? That looks like a liberal family. Right? Doing all the right things, going to Harvard. Look, it looks like a family, hardworking, but at the same time, academia, you got to go to school, you got to go to the right school, all that stuff. And we automatically expect this guy in his 20s to already know what's right and what's wrong. And then he happens to become a billionaire very early. Then this thing grows into the biggest community worldwide. How many users does Facebook have, Rob? I think it's like 2.2 billion. I may be off by a few hundred million, but it's a lot of people.
90% of those are grandmas.
How many? 3 billion users on Facebook. Active monthly users. Damn. That's active. Okay? 68.85 of the total monthly users log in on their mobile device monthly. That's a pretty impressive number.
But does that count
Okay.
Instagram, WhatsApp, all
No,
that, just
no,
everything?
Facebook.
Just
this just
Facebook?
says
It said
Facebook.
Meta.
Okay.
Oh,
So
man.
then you go look at Instagram. Then you go look up. He owns WhatsApp. He owns all these companies.
Mm-hmm.
And what is his net worth today, Rob? If you type in his Mark Zuckerberg net worth,
110 billion.
I
I'm
think
giving
it's more than
maybe
that.
more
But
than that
he
at this
could be,
point.
Well, 200
What
billion.
now? Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying
But
to
where
you.
was it 2 years ago? I
Oh
think
no,
it was
you're
half
right.
of that.
Yeah, no, less than half of
Wow.
that. So 198 billion
This
dollars.
guy's crushing
Yeah,
it.
of course he is. He's a top 5 guy right now. Wow. So he's in there. He's like, hey, listen, I understand there's all these other guys. Just so you know, I'm the youngest guy worth $200 billion in the world. Bezos in his 50s. Musk is in his 50s.
Bezos is 60.
Gates is in his 60s, 70s. Buffett's in his 80s. So he's like, guys, I can also change.
Larry's
And
in his 70s.
Larry's in his 70s. So he starts hanging out with jiu-jitsu guys, UFC guys. You know, he changes. He starts looking at what's going on. And he's, by the way, one of the best things happens when your parents get a divorce, you learn about both families a lot when you're going through a divorce. Think about when you're the CEO, the owner of the biggest social media site worldwide, and both the left and the right are calling you, asking favors and trying to run campaigns. You know what you learn? You learn both of them how they approach you. Which one approaches you and trying to negotiate with you? Which one approaches you with threats? You understand what happened right there?
Of course.
So imagine you are learning, dude, these guys on the left are threatening me. What is this all about? If I don't do this, we're going to do this. The other side is just trying to convince me.
Yeah.
So one is trying to sell me, the other one's trying to threaten me. I'm not part of the threatening community. I build a freaking, I've done more in my life than any one of you guys has done combined. You 2,000 politicians combined don't have my net worth. What do you think? I brought a lot of value to the world here myself at a young age. So now he's evolving. I think Zuck right now, as much slack as everybody's giving him, I think Zuck at 50 years old, maybe even sooner, Zuck's going to be a player. And when I tell you he's going to be a player, I think he's going to be a player. Unfortunately, right now, he's getting criticized. They show the picture of Elon, and have you seen that picture where Elon and Trump, they're having the lunch, the McDonald's burgers on the plane, and then Zuckerberg's outside the window? Have you guys seen that picture or no? Can you find that? Is there a picture with Zuckerberg? If you keep looking through them, you'll find it.
He's
where he's
outside the
outside the
airplane.
window.
He's trying to look in.
He's trying to look in. It's actually a really, really phenomenal image to show that he's an outsider that wants to be on the inside. Oh, you should zoom those in to see if they're in there. The top one. Oh, so you see that window right there?
Yeah, they put his
the
face.
meme put Zuckerberg's picture out there like, hey, I'd love to be on the inside. I understand that, and it's going to hurt a little bit. I get it because Elon Musk went all in, and there's a risk when he went all in, and he deserves everything he's getting. Everything he's getting. But Zuck made the right move when he wrote that letter to Jim Jordan. Zuck made the right move when he called out Biden. Zuck made the right move when he said that was a badass move by the president. And Zuck is himself kind of going through the evolution of recreating himself. And I'm okay with that. And by the way, on the flip side.
And who says that he's actually recreating himself? Maybe he's been a player all along, or a placeholder. Let's just take a look real quick at what that letter looked like that he sent to the Honorable Jim Jordan, Chairman, Committee on the Judiciary, United States House of Representatives. Chairman Jordan, I appreciate the committee's interest in content moderation on online platforms. As you are aware, Meta has produced thousands of documents as part of your investigation and made a dozen employees available for transcribed interviews. Pause right there and read that again. It says, as you are aware, Meta has produced thousands of documents as part of your investigation and made a dozen employees available for transcribed interviews. Further to our cooperation with your investigation, I welcome the opportunity to share what I've taken away from this process. There's a lot of talk right now around how the U.S. government interacts with companies like Meta. And I want to be clear about our position. Our platforms are for everyone. We're about promoting speech and helping people connect in a safe and secure way. As a part of this, we regularly hear from governments around the world and others with various concerns around public discourse and public safety. In 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain CV-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take down the content. And we own our decisions, including those related to the C-19 related changes that we made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think that we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction. And we're ready to push back if something like this happens again. Now, I just want to pause right there for a moment and have you sort of reevaluate this. Zuckerberg gets a very bad rap, and trust me, he's not on my favorite friends list either. Okay. I'm not an advocate for him, but I am an avid researcher and seeker of the truth. I am very well versed at research and finding the truth. And while I was watching this video from Valuetainment, I noticed something that a lot of people are not probably noticing. You see, Zuckerberg doesn't run Facebook on his own. He has a committee, he has a board, right? Like, he's the CEO of it, yeah, but he isn't solely in charge of all of the decisions. With that said, I also feel like very likely his board did not agree with him writing this letter, or was unaware of him writing this letter, even perhaps. I would speculate that many of them, as you will hear the gentleman on Valuetainment argue the case, that some of them are very likely very liberal, while others may not be. So I think that what he did there was very covert, including that he has made dozens of employees available for transcribed interviews, right? Now, the reason that I say this is if we go right over here real quick and we look at when did Facebook rebrand itself to Meta, this took place in October of 2021. Facebook rebranded to Meta on October 28th of 2021 during the company's annual Connect conference. The rebrand reflects the company's shift towards building the metaverse and its vision beyond social media. Now, let's hypothetically say that Zuckerberg has been a key placeholder all along for collecting the data and the evidence necessary to show just how corrupt some of these people within our government actually are, so that we can stop this once and for all. So let's go on. This says, in a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. That fall, when we saw a New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family, we sent that story to to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while waiting for a reply. It has since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation, and in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story. We've changed our policies and processes to make sure this doesn't happen again. For instance, we no longer temporarily demote things in the US while waiting for fact checkers. And I don't know if you've noticed a difference if you use Facebook in what you can and cannot say, but I certainly have. I'm someone who used to end up in Facebook jail quite frequently. So I think that's very interesting that these things have changed, and they seem to have collected this data in the time frame since the inception of Meta. So perhaps, hypothetically speaking, it was part of the plan all along. So yeah, he gets a bad rap. But in all fairness, we should all be innocent until proven guilty, right? So, I mean, I'm no lawyer or anything, but I think in the public opinion of things, we need to use our brain. We need to think more, and we need to look deeper into what's actually taking place. Okay? So, this goes on to say, apart from content moderation, I want to address the contributions I made during the last presidential cycle to support electoral infrastructure. The idea here was to make sure local election jurisdictions across the country had the resources that they needed to help people vote safely during a global pandemic. I made these contributions through the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. They were designed to be nonpartisan, spread across urban, rural, and suburban communities. Still, despite the analysis I've seen showing otherwise. I know that some people believe this work benefited one party over the other, and my goal is to be neutral and not play a role one way or another, or to even appear to be playing a role. So I don't plan on making a similar contribution this cycle. And he didn't. He did not contribute one way or the other. And fair and square, Trump won the election because there was the lack of this same interference. Now, I think it's important to see the contrast here. For the 2020 cycle, there was very clear, blatant interference. Lots of disinformation, misinformation, censorship, all kinds of things going on, right? In this election cycle of 2024, that didn't take place. By the same company, the same head CEO making a different choice or a switch in policy and the way that they operate for their own business. I would like to go out on a limb and propose that this was done intentionally to show the difference. And I would also be willing to go on a limb and say, in my own opinion here, that he probably has the data and the evidence necessary to prove that the Biden administration, the White House, etc., were heavily pressuring them, threatening them, if you will, as this gentleman on Valuetainment has referenced. Okay, so I just want to bump ahead a little bit. Well, no, I'll go ahead and play it right here.
You know what I love about Elon? I also love that Elon is staying paranoid. If Elon and Trump are speaking privately, you know what Elon's probably telling Trump? Hey, don't trust him too early.
Yep.
Let's not trust him too early.
Yeah.
Let's not
And
trust
I
him too
agree.
early. Let's not trust
I
him too
agree.
early. I'm convinced that is taking place. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I follow the logic and I agree with you on much of that. But I also think that Zuck is being led at gunpoint, and it's guns that he's loaded over the course of Facebook. There are 5
allowed to be.
actions that all are incredibly threatening to Meta in front of the federal government right now. One, the COVID censorship and the censorship of right-wing media. Hearings are going to come up, and there's oversight committees, things that there. And down the street, Google is being broken up. Then there's the FCC, Section 230. That is not going away. It's coming back. And there will be hearings on that in the spring on Section 230, Pat. And guess who's going to be back in front of Congress? Mark Zuckerberg. Yep. The federal FTC on the online ads and the monopoly that Facebook has, they are hearings coming. And they've already told last week, Google was told, maybe we'll just spin Chrome off and do something else. It's the largest data gatherer that they have, the Chrome browser. And they're like, holy crap. That's number 3. Number 4, there are hearings that are going to go on young girls and the addiction and hurting themselves. And should there be limits on young girls? And there's already state attorney generals that are out there that are putting that. Number 4. Number 5, data use. When do you collect data and how do you store it? And and does the user know about that? Hearings are coming up next summer on that. Those 5 reasons could take 5 dinners to talk about. And I think Musk, knows it. He understands it. He sees it. But Zuckerberg, I think Musk knows exactly why Zuckerberg would go in there. Zuckerberg needs to, in addition to that letter of Jim Jordan, he needs to make nice with the new president and his head of the FTC, head of the FTC, FCC, the censorship hearings, the Consumer Protection Agency, and Data Use Protection Group. So there's a lot of reasons for Zuck at gunpoint to go do this. We will find out.
Can both be true at the same time?
Huh?
And I 100% agree with all of his points. I am 100% on board and behind him on all of that. But I was trained well to be a researcher. And from a researcher's point of view, you look for all the facts. You pick up on all the clues. You don't miss them because you have bias. So I think it's very important to plug this in to the equation. And I feel like all of my bread makers and bakers out there would agree with this, that we need to at least take a look at this.
Can both be true at the same
totally
time?
Yes, they can be true at the same time. And I'm anxious to see what shows up. Is it true? Or is it lobbying because he has to?
Who was Elon Musk at 38 years old, 39 years old, 40 years old? Who was he?
Rocket making.
Politically, where was he? How did he feel about Trump when he was 38, 39, 40
He was leaning the
years old?
opposite way.
He was a he wasn't a militant. He was a liberal, but he wasn't militant.
No, he was never militant.
But was he?
No.
But was he active?
No.
But was he active?
he was-
Was he active in literally taking down the president? Because let's not forget, from the Zucker bucks, from the 200 and God knows how many million, all right, the damage has already been done. I think he's there, my opinion, he's there to kiss the ring. I mean, let's not forget about all the stories, Tom, you nailed it. All the COVID, all the censorship, all the Hunter Biden, all that stuff. People like me, I want accountability, okay? I've been saying that forever. We deserve it. From the Pelosi's to the, holding down the National Guard, to Russia collusion, all those people that were involved, to Dr. Fauci, the people like that have supported Trump from the beginning, have lost friends, lost relationships. I've lost opportunities because I was in Hollywood. We want accountability, okay? Because I talked to Rob about this when we came in. If Kamala Harris won, do you think that they'd give him any grace?
None.
Any grace? Would they stop any of these things? Like when they're talking about, I know we talked about it. Trump, to be nice, should pardon Hunter Biden and pardon Joe Biden.
Give who any grace?
The other side.
You think Kamala would have
Grace for what?
Kamala, would they have given Trump grace?
At all.
Zero.
That's what I'm saying. So, Pat, what I'm saying is we deserve, and I don't want retribution. I don't want them to, but we want a little bit of, okay, you messed up, there's your penalty. Hunter Biden, he belongs in prison. I know we're going to get there. That guy belongs in prison, and Joe Biden should have been impeached. We want some accountability. Mr. Fauci, we want that too. So a Zuckerberg, and you're right, Pat, it could kind of go both ways. But if for what he did, that letter to me is just going, hey, let me just, I'm sorry. They were telling me, the White House was telling me.
When he wrote the letter, if you remember when we talked about it on the podcast, Rob, if you can remember when he wrote the letter, just find the dates. It's Dear Honorable Chairman Jordan. That's
Yeah.
what the letter is, right? Jim
Dear, did he
Jordan.
say dear?
Dear?
I
Yeah.
actually think he said dear, which is.
He didn't.
Can you go to the letter? Can you? Is that the date? Can you just click
August
on the images? Can you go on the images? Let's see how he opens it up.
Did you say dear, Pat? Dear Congressman? Your Honorable.
Chairman Jordan, Honorable Jim Jordan. Yeah. So when he wrote this letter, what's the date on it? See if it says the date on this.
August
thing.
26th.
Okay, August 26th. August 26th, July 13th. That is 6 weeks after Trump got assassination attempt in, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we responded to this, I said this is Zuck's way of saying he thinks Trump's winning. If you remember how we
Yes.
reacted to this, that was my position that I
Yes.
took. Okay. But also at the same time, none of us knew. Let's face it, guys. On August 26th, everybody here wasn't Trump's winning. Let's not get it twisted.
wasn't 100% at
No,
all. No,
everybody
I-
here was like, 51-49,
Adam
right?
was- yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was,
and remember, this was still the honeymoon stages of when did they announce Kamala? Can you
July 21st.
July.
July 21st?
I think.
Is that the date?
Rob,
Okay.
Wasn't that, or is that the Biden letter? Or is that the Kamala date?
So let's find out what the exact date. I'm trying to get sequencing down with this. I just want to know when they announced Biden stepping down. 21st. Okay. So July 21st. You got a spot on. Okay.
call.
So when you look at that, exactly 5 weeks later, he writes the letter. 5 weeks later, on every poll, she is still ahead. And they were like, she's going to win. She's going to this. She's going to that. Okay.
yeah, it was the anti-Biden bounce. She's our girl.
For sure. Okay. So he wrote that letter. Do you know how risky of a letter that is to write? Let me explain to you how risky the letter that is to write.
He's
Let's
got a very
say
good point
he
here.
writes that letter. There was another 1 or 2 attempts on Trump.
Yeah.
If one succeeds, Kamala wins, what happens to him for the next 4 years with the left? Do you know what they do to him on Facebook? Oh, they will destroy him and humiliate him and do everything they can to hurt him. It's better to write that letter after somebody wins because it's safer. The safer time to write the letter is after November 5th. The safer time.
So what he's saying is, he's saying he applauds Mark Zuckerberg's boldness or braveness for writing the letter when he did to Jim Jordan. So he's on the right track there, I feel like. But let's take that a little bit further and let's say he was in on the plan all along as a placeholder. So now we have to start bringing it into the public limelight. Get your eyes on it, get your attention on it. And really, even though he wrote it in August, many people aren't even hearing about it until now, and it's almost December. So it all comes out as it should, right? Like my grandma used to say, it all comes out in the wash. And since the election, I feel like it's a wash. It's time for things to come to light. But let's continue listening.
Okay? You understand what I'm saying?
Of course.
Okay. The risky time to write it is when? 5 weeks after Kamala's announced and America's done with Biden after the debate with Trump, which was embarrassing, and the assassination attempt to realize that Biden cannot beat Trump. They bring Kamala in young, fresh, all this stuff, right? He writes this letter. I'm convinced that he is going through the evolution himself. I'm convinced when they wrote that letter, I guarantee you some people in his camp, on his board, who are on the left said, don't write this letter. Imagine you have a board. Where's he based out of? Silicon Valley? I don't know where Facebook is. I'm going to say it's somewhere in the
probably
Cupertino area.
so.
All right. What percentage of his board do you think are left?
99.
Can you type in Meta board? Type in Meta board of directors. Meta board of directors.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say 100%.
I'm telling you this. So if you zoom in a little bit, okay, let's go through who it is. All right, so
well, we know where
go
he's
up.
from,
Let's see Javier Olivan. Tom, do you know Javier or no? Zoom in a little bit to see what his background is and what he did.
See,
prior to that, he was a product manager.
Okay, and we're going to skip all this because he's just trying to assume or insinuate that they're all part of the left, and I don't like that part of it. I mean, they may or may not be, right? Pressure is pressure from the government, in my opinion. Doesn't matter what side you're on. A lot of people have a price and a limit and will cave and cater at some point or another, so it doesn't really matter what side we're on. Right?
What do you think the board is telling Zuck?
So Zuck was trying to find. I just sent you 2 clips, Rob, and if you could find the one from Wired. So Wired, fair to say, Bible of Silicon Valley. You know,
Yep.
not bombastic. They carefully researched stories, well-respected publication. Facebook had been dealing with the ire of the Democrats for a while. And I do not believe for a second that it was lost on Zuckerberg, that in many ways he was a man without a country. Wired, here's how Facebook actually won Trump the presidency back 2016. People were pissed at him because they were trying to do all the Russian collusion stuff, but people thought Facebook didn't do enough. It actually had helped Trump influence voters through Facebook, and they were pissed off about it. And then, go to the next clip, Rob. This is very interesting.
Okay, and I want you to
Just the
keep
one that
that
was
in
right there, I
mind,
just-
right? I want you to keep that in mind. During the 2016 election, there was no censorship on Facebook. There was no interference with what we were sharing, what we were talking about, what we were doing. You know, everybody had their own little groups and cliques, and we were all just simply free to do that as we're supposed to be. And then suddenly, things changed for the next cycle. Okay? Trust the plan. Trust the process. And get your popcorn.
Those guys right there, Politico. Angry Democrats pose rising risk for Facebook. So Zuckerberg has felt the heat from the Dems that felt that he didn't stand in line enough. And so I think his board would have looked at it and say, Mark, you know, the Dems have been upset with us for a while. I don't know if you want to write this letter.
Exactly.
You know?
validate my point even more, Tom, because here's what happens. So, Tom, let me explain
That's
to
what
you.
I was doing.
I know that.
I was giving you facts.
No, I love that. But the point I'm trying to make is I was thinking maybe you were going to take a different angle.
No.
My concern is this, Tom, we're in
And see, they're actually both supporting my opinion of it as well. Even though they're not quite there on it.
You know, I don't know. I just think this is I'm glad Trump's team reached out. Stephen Miller, if he sees this, you guys are strategic moves you're making. Very impressive. Zuck, freaking phenomenal for going out there and sitting down. And Musk, please stay paranoid because you need to hold everybody. Someone in the room needs to be the guy that's going to be like, yeah, I don't know yet. That's okay. Someone needs to play that flag carrier role. Go ahead and give your thoughts, and I'm going to move on to the next story.
I think we just got to give Zuck a little credit for growing and evolving. I mean,
Or maybe we need to give him credit for being a very good actor in the game to where you can't tell whether he's the good guy or the bad guy. I mean, many of the Anons would know from our experiences that some certain people that we thought were the good guys turned out to be bad guys. And we didn't see that coming. We didn't see it coming at all. We were blindsided, you know. January 6th and Mike Pence included in that. But there were several more prior to him that we thought were the good guys. And they really turned out to kind of not be on our side in it. They weren't of our opinion, right? And then also the same with people like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and God, Joe Rogan, of all people, even, right? Like they were very liberal and very left point of view at the onset, and now they're hella Trump. So it's strange how we kept getting reminders that everything was a mirror, and how that couples in with spiritual evolution as well, with what's above is so below. Again, another mirror, another flip, right? And how everything is opposite of what we think it is. And I just think we're living in very exciting times that continue to keep us on our toes. And I'm going to stay on my toes. And every time I notice something like this, I'm going to bring it to your attention, give you more food for thought. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share this. And I will see you again soon. Peace.